And we're back once again here on Yankees Hot Stove as we continue from the winter meetings in Florida. Now, the Detroit Tigers have become a force to be reckoned with in the American League Central and the American League playoffs. But that's always been under the guidance lately of Jim Leyland, who after this last postseason run decided to step aside as manager of the Tigers. The job to get him there now falls to former player Brad Ausmus, who was here at the winter meetings, and Jack had a chance to talk to him.
Brad, you're about to start your first season as the manager of the Detroit Tigers. What do you think are going to be the biggest challenges for you?
I think as long as Miguel Cabrera is all right, I'll sleep better at night. I'm sure there's going to be actually a ton of challenges. You know, like you said, this is my first season managing, and other than a handful of games in WBC, I hadn't managed before. So there's going to be a little bit of a learning curve, but I have Gene Lamont sitting next to me, who's been in the game of baseball, 50 years or so. Maybe not quite that long, but he's been around a long time, so I expect him, and I will lean on him.
You also have Dave Dombrowski as your general manager, and he's been busy in this offseason. Fielder for Kinsler. You guys also traded Pfister. It has been reported that you're going to pick up Rajai Davis. You signed Joe Nathan. What do you think of the moves you guys have made so far?
Well, I think they're good moves. I think there may be times where people will say, hey, we need Fielder's bat, but we got a pretty dynamic player in Ian Kinsler. This guy can play second base, he can steal bases, he's got some power, hit the ball in the gap, he can run. We're probably a little more athletic now. Joe Nathan, I think, is a big acquisition. It's always good to know for a manager and for the team, especially the bullpen. It's good for those guys to know that, hey, in the ninth inning close game, Joe's going to be in there. He's our guy. He's done it before. He's not going to get rattled. So I think that was a very important acquisition.
We all know that catchers are supposed to make good managers because you're used to being in the game on every pitch. At what point toward the end of your career did you think this might be something you'd want to do?
Yeah, I think it was when I became a backup and I started watching the game more as opposed to playing the game, following along with the game, following along with the manager's thinking process. Especially in L.A. when I was playing behind Russ Martin and Joe Torre was the manager, and I would even often go up to Joe and ask him questions in mid-game or the next day about why he did something or what he thought about that. So I would say the last few years.
You started out your career as a 47th round pick of the Yankees. You played for the Yankees minor league system for several years. Then you were picked by the Colorado Rockies in the expansion draft of '92. Did you ever take a moment to wonder that if you hadn't been picked in the expansion draft, stayed with the Yankee organization, how your career might have been different?
I'd like to think Posada's career would have been different. But somehow I think he would have been a great player anyway. Yeah, at the time it happened, I was in college. It was the offseason. I remember watching the draft on TV, and they announced my name, and I think my jaw hit the floor because I had been with the Yankees for over 5 years in the minor leagues. I thought I was going to be with the Yankees the rest of my life. Didn't work out that way. And my mom, who was a diehard Red Sox fan, was probably a little happy that I left. But hey, I'm pretty happy with how everything worked out.
Brad Ausmus, one of 5 managerial changes in the offseason, 4 in the National League, he in the American League, and first time ever for him managing, Jack. Is it or could it be as simple as very talented team, just plug this guy in and get him back to the playoffs?
It could be that simple, but it's never that simple. Managing baseball games is very difficult. I thought it was interesting that Ausmus talked about how he has Gene Lamont in the dugout next to him. You need somebody to lean on. You go back to Joe Torre's tenure with the Yankees, and he had Don Zimmer there. You want to have somebody by your side who you can trust and you can get the questions answered. But this is a guy who's got to go in there, and we've said this on the show before. He needs to be like Mike Matheny with the Cardinals. The Tigers are built to win now. Contracts are disappearing. A guy like Scherzer can become a free agent. You don't know what's going to happen with Cabrera. Ausmus has to go in there, and he doesn't get any honeymoon. They have to win now.
Prince Fielder is gone via trade. Ian Kinsler is in. They signed Joe Nathan to hopefully close games and solidify things there. Tyler, are they better off today than they were at the end of the offseason?
I'm not sure they are. You remember they lost Johnny Peralta, too, and he missed 50 games last year, but he's been pretty productive for them for 3 playoff teams. Joaquin Benoit gave up the big grand slam to David Ortiz, and that will always haunt the Tigers. But he was pretty good for those 3 years, and he was actually pretty good as the closer, too. So Nathan's an upgrade. He has the reputation. But Benoit wasn't bad, so that's just about a wash there. You're losing Drew Smiley from the bullpen into the rotation to replace Doug Pfister. That weakens your bullpen a little bit. And Iglesias, tremendous defensive player, but is he going to he's not going to be able to be the offensive player that Peralta was. Rajai Davis is a nice piece, and Kinsler obviously is great, but I don't think they've really improved that much necessarily, because last year's team was pretty good. I mean, they win both those Scherzer games against Boston in the playoffs, and when the bullpen blew it, they're in the World Series.
And it's interesting, too, because you think about a healthy Miguel Cabrera, if he is in fact healthy going into next season, what more he's going to be able to do for that offense. They have some solid pitching as far as the rotation is concerned. Not knowing exactly what you're going to get from Smiley, but you have some other guys there. And I think what's really going to help Ausmus in this and all of this is the fact that there are a lot of veterans on this team. So it's not like you're going in there with a young team and needing to make sure that everybody's going about their business the right way. This is a team that's been together for the most part for a long time with some core guys in there that really control the clubhouse. So I think that all will work in his favor.